but put Dallas's defense also there. And I know that seems kind of crazy, and most people would think, I don't know, blah, blah, blah. But can't you imagine one running touchdown, one throwing touchdown, but then a pick six for Dallas tonight?
His recommendation. What is happening? It is a day that ends in Y, which of course means Rentier Sports viewers are shipping on a Showdown slate. Last Thursday, DFS superstar Whistles Go Roo joined JSU and BigT on the Thursday Night Football Showdown show to talk about the slate, and he hit the nail on the head with a killer hot take.
I love the play of Taysom as captain, but put Dallas's defense also there. And I know that seems kind of crazy, and most people would think, I don't know, blah, blah, blah. But can't you imagine one running touchdown, one throwing touchdown, but then a pick six for Dallas tonight?
His recommendation to pair Taysom Hill with the Dallas defense, along with JSU and Big T's call to pair him with Deontay Harris, was the winning formula to ship Showdown tournaments.
I remember tons of slates where the studs like Kamara, Michael Thomas, he just wouldn't get them as involved, and some of the lesser guys he would pepper, and one of them was always Deontay Harris.
If you couldn't tell, our hosts have been on fire recently with some great calls on our premium content as well as Discord, including Holden, who has been pounding the table with Matt Breida on Thanksgiving, as well as recent Eli Mitchell and Jalen Waddle on our Up to Lock show on Sundays.
Heggy B, what do you think of Elijah Mitchell? I mean, personally, he's right at the top for me. I've got a couple lineups with Elijah Mitchell. When he plays, he gets the rock.
NBA is firing on all cylinders as well, with Bobby recommending a 1% owned 40 burger for Santi Aldama on our final countdown show Thursday night.
Is there a guy named Santi really in Bobby Gomes' core from You Better Relax, Bro?
Yeah, I don't think it's a bad play. If he sees 17 minutes, they're kind of hurt. He's 0.94 fantasy point per minute play. He's a power forward. It's more of a large field thing.
Congratulations to all of our members on their huge wins, including E. Cunningham with his 560K hit on NFL Showdown, and Matt Ryan 858 with his 100K shipper on NBA. And huge shout out to our guy Tambo for coming in second place in DraftKings King of the Beach tournament. Tambo shipped 150K in week 13 with his Gardner Minshew lineup, so big congrats to him. If you are not subscribed yet, what in the heck are you doing? Join today with 25% off your first month with the promo code RPSHeater25. Make sure you check back soon for a huge announcement, and of course, run pure.
Let's do this. We are picking winners. And trust me, we pick winners on this show. It's Holden here alongside Keg and Mr. Mangone. And here are the 7 games, because we're going to do Thursday Night Football. We just got news. Thielen's officially out, so KJ Osborne's going to get boosted up. Minnesota and Pittsburgh. So the games we'll do today, Bills, Bucks, the main course. Niners, Bengals, pretty good one. Baltimore, Cleveland with a slumping Lamar Jackson. Dallas and Washington. Detroit, Denver, Atlanta, and Carolina. That's what we got going on right now. Also, before I say hello to these two fine gentlemen I'm with, we still have that great special, RPS Heater 25% off your first payment on a monthly subscription. Let's get to the winners. Showdown has been so successful. NBA guys are cleaning up. And just in the NFL, you look at some of these wins in the Showdown. We all had a very good time last Thursday. Hoops and Whistles pulled down 53K, each one of them, Hoop and then Whistles. That's obviously a couple analysts. And then how about our subscribers? Swint with 25K, Takedown Season with 19K, Shaw's Demon 33K, Sweet Boy 59K. I wonder what these guys are doing with their money. E. Cunningham, 560K in the Showdown. And then our boy Tambo, 150K, second place, king of the beach. And then he's got to pay I wonder if he has to pay all those taxes when he goes back to Canada. I'm not sure whether or not he has to do it, but if he does, he's going to end up with like $10,000 Canadian.
He's in Canada, Holden. He doesn't have to pay those taxes. He's
because you get away with that in Canada because that can be a hobby or something with work and you don't have to pay. But I don't know, bringing 150K to Canada, I feel like they're going to tax the shit out of him.
No, it goes in his DK account. It's not like he carries it's not like he's carrying like suitcases of money on the plane.
Well, what about when you withdraw?
He's going to withdraw from Canada. Like he's at his house.
Well, the taxes are whatever. We're all good. We're not going to worry.
I'll tell you this. If your goal in life, Holden, was just to be a professional DFS player and make as much money as possible, you didn't care about anything else, moving to Canada would be a smart idea.
I love Canada too, besides for socialism and their currency sucking. Again,
that's what I'm saying. If you only cared about making DFS money and being a DFS player, moving to Canada, smart idea.
But I mean, they do have nice people. Very fit women, no matter what their face looks like. A lot of good things going on in Canada. Kegger, hello. How are you today? Any thoughts on Canada before we get into this slate?
No thoughts on Canada. I got here. Toronto is very nice. I've never been there. I'd like
great place.
But no thoughts on Canada.
Okay. Any thoughts on this football slate this week with these games that you decided to pick out for us? What was the biggest number, the biggest nugget that you found while researching these 7 games?
The biggest thing I found on this slate is there are 9 games that have a total of 44 or less, which seems, even though for December that seems kind of high, but it's a really bad slate. These are a bunch of ugly games this Sunday. But
we got a couple good ones.
We're here. We'll find the winners.
No, I liked it. I actually liked. There's about 3 games in this slate that are really sexy, and then the one that I got my pick from is from a shitty game. But let's start with a good one here: Bills and Bucks. Ooh la la! How can you not get excited about this one, Kegger? You know, we got 2 teams that are expected to score a whole bunch of points. Unless there's a tornado, the wind's not going to be, or the weather's not going to be worse than what we just saw. Buffalo +3 or 3.5. Total here is 52.5 to 53.5, depending on where you shop. Do you feel good that the Bills can bounce back here, or is this Brady just running it down or just throwing it down the Bills' throats?
Yeah, this is probably the best game on the slate, I think. For all the love that this Bills defense has been given this season, and rightfully so, compared to the shit show that they were last year, this team has still been really disappointing. I have them just outside the top 5 in my PR. I think they're 7th. But to be fair, we're talking about a team right now that's a game above 500. So it's hard to analyze and take anything away from what we saw on Monday night, in my opinion. They lost to a team that threw the football 3 times. Now, that's not a great look, obviously, but the conditions were rough, and the Patriots did a better job of adapting to them. Now, that being said, aside from the win that the Bills had against the Chiefs this year, they have not beat a good football team all season. They lost to the Titans. They lost to the Colts, lost to the Patriots. They managed to lose to the Jaguars somehow. So the Bills team, despite how good their defense is on paper, they aren't playing anywhere near like a Super Bowl contender. They're failing their preseason expectation by a mile. And their track record against good football teams is concerning, considering who they're going to play this week. Now, the Bucks, top 3 football team in the league right now, that's not debatable. Could be the best team in football. They're one of the only teams right now in football that are in the top 8 in both offensive and defensive DVOA. They have great metrics on Pro Football Focus. And since that 2-game skid that they had in the middle of the year, they rolled off 3 wins in a row. They're right back on the horse, and they continue to be the fastest team out of the gate in the league in terms of first half points per game. And I think this Sunday, it's going to be a statement game for the Bucks. Now, this is a pure power ratings graph for me. The number is 3 at FanDuel. I have this line Bucks -5 at home. So this is an official play for me, despite the Bills coming off the loss here. I think the Bucks plant their flag on Sunday and say, we're here. So give me the Bucks -3. I'm going to put that on the sheet after the show. Ooh. As far as the total, considering that there are 9 games that have a total of 44 or less, I think both these teams sneak over the total this week. But for me, I think the play is the side here. I'm a little concerned that the Bills are coming in off the loss, but I just think that Tampa is a class above Buffalo right now, and I'll lay the field goal at home.
Okay. I think I already tailed you on that. I saw that in Discord. That's the other thing if you're a member on the bet side or the DFS side, you get access to Discord and you get to talk to Keg. You get to talk to Mangone, Big T, JSU, Hoop, all the big guys. They're in there answer AP. They're all answering the questions here. I'm trying to find, I know that I already tailed you on that because I looked at it. So you could get him at -3. Mangone, let's talk, buddy. DFS side. This is juicy, but I want to start with one player in particular, Leonard Fournette. I mean, Lenny's going bananas, and every single week he's getting to the end zone. Brady loves the man. He's gotten 8 targets each of the last 2 weeks. Is 15 plus 16 is what, 31 targets the last 4 weeks. So he's got a floor in the passing game. He's got a floor in the running game, not quite as much, but he's doing so much work in the passing game that when he scores there, you've got at least a touchdown and you got yards and catches. Talk to me about Lenny this week. Is he someone you're interested in cash or GPPs?
Yep, I love Uncle Leo. Who doesn't like Uncle Leo, especially around Christmas time, Holden? I mean, everyone loves having a nice uncle around. And
okay.
Uncle Leo's that guy for us. I love him. He's my guy. He always pounds the rock. He gets the job done. And he has a floor now, Holden. Like, people always worried about him in the past because his floor was a bit rough, right? Like, I mean, he was more of a ground and pound kind of guy. He's definitely more involved in the pass game ever since that nice little playoff stretch. Like, it's been good for him. So Giovanni Bernard is not someone to fear too much too, because when he gets worked in when they're losing. So if you do think the Bucs are losing, which they certainly could be losing in this game and having a trailing script, it wouldn't shock you if out of the gate, there's like a drop pass by a running back, like Leonard Fournette, maybe he drops the ball and it's just a pick six to the house. Josh Allen scores on the next drive and it's 14-0. It can easily happen. Not saying it will, but Giovanni Bernard is someone that is only a threat when they're losing. So if you do think they're leading, if you're building that kind of script, I think playing Leonard Fournette is a great idea. I definitely think I'm going to be playing him. I think he is the best way to get exposure to this game rather than the passing game, mainly because I'm not a big believer in the Bills right now and their defense. I think this defense is a little fraudulent, and I also think Tom Brady is going to take what is given to him. And what's been given to him? This Bills team will give up that short yardage stuff, and that is in the territory for Gronk. It's in the territory for Leonard Fournette. And let's say you do want to do a unique kind of stack. You know what's unique, Holden?
What?
Tom Brady, Leonard Fournette, Rob Gronkowski. And if you say that would never win the Millie Maker, it won the Millie Maker week 1 or 2, one of those weeks. I think it was week 2. Yes, that was it, because I remember that was when I was at Big T's house. So it was week 2, and it was a nice little ship. So be sure to. There's a lot of ways to get unique with the stack if you want to. I'm currently leaning not playing Brady and just playing Leonard Fournette, and then maybe taking a shot on like a Stephon Diggs at 8.1K because it's a hefty price tag. And I don't think people want to go to him. I want to see what the ownership is, because if it's low, then I'm in on that. But my one fear too with this game, and I think you can make arguments that this game could just bust. There's obviously a chance it can. Everyone says every week, oh, this can't bust. There's no chance. It's like, yes, this game could bust. It's very easy. It certainly can happen. Also, there's ways where this game ends up being 24-21 and guys just aren't on the winning team because the ball can get spread out so much by both these offenses. So if ownership in tournaments condenses a ton on this game, there is merit to fading the game. You just have to find another spot. That's the key. And we'll try and find the spot as we break everything down, because it's definitely not easy to find that spot. And I think with it being difficult to find the spot to go to, it makes it tough. In cash games like Josh Allen, Tom Brady, they're great quarterback options, especially on FanDuel rather than DraftKings, because we'll talk about Taysom Hill, I'm sure, at some point, but he is going to be a quarterback at 5'6" that everyone's going to be looking at. And it's just, there's a lot of routes to go in this game. And there's a lot of ways I think it can fail. And I think you can just maybe do a skinny stack and really get away with a small amount of exposure to this game. And that's my current lean. I don't see myself, firing a Brady, a Godwin, a Mike Evans, run it back with a Cole Beasley or Emmanuel Sanders or Dawson Knox, and then just fill out the rest of my lineup. I really do think I'm going to just get some pieces of this and not make it my full-on stack this week.
Okay, that's the first game. Hit the like button, subscribe. That would be awesome. Like button, subscribe. If you're watching this on tape delay, still do it. The little red button over there, you know what it is. That's a subscribe button. The thumbs up is the other button, and that's the one to like things. Niners Bengals is our next game, Kegger, and it's -1.5 for the Niners on the road. Burrow, he keeps saying the right things. His hand is fine. He's going to play this week. We still don't know 100%. 48.5 is the total here. How do you handicap this game with Burrow? I don't want to say his status is up in the air because they're talking about him playing, but how do you do that with a guy with a busted pinky?
Yeah, man. These lines change so much Tuesday night to Wednesday.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times the limits get pulled on Wednesday and you can make bigger bets. When I was researching this game yesterday for this show, the Bengals were -1 on DK yesterday. Wow. And now you're just catching me off guard. Now the Niners are -1.5. That kind of changes things. This game's a tough one because both of these teams are so inconsistent. One week the Niners are Jekyll, the next week they're Hyde. The same could be said for the Bengals. The 49ers this season have had 2 3-game stretches where they've won 3 in a row and they've lost 3 in a row. So if you look at the numbers last week for the Niners, they were actually pretty solid. Average 6.5 yards per play. They gave up a little over 4.5 yards per play. It was one of those games where the Niners got whatever they wanted through the air, but Seattle got whatever they wanted on the ground. The problem last week was the 49ers couldn't get anything going in the second half. They didn't score a single point, and the inconsistency is even half to half with both these teams. And to be fair, the defense did its job in the second half last week. They gave up a couple field goals, no touchdowns. So right now, I have a hard time pegging both these teams because you don't know what you're going to get week to week. And what's even crazier is if you look at the analytics by a lot of metrics, the Niners are top 10 in both offense and defense in a bunch of categories. As far as the Bengals, the same could be said. They looked very good 2 weeks ago against the Steelers when they crushed them. Last week, they were down 24-0 to the Chargers before they even started playing football. Now, I suppose you can make the excuse for Burrow because he broke or dislocated his pinky in the first half of that game. But again, when we talk about the inconsistency from half to half, the Bengals went down 24-0. Then they scored 22 unanswered and then get outscored 17-0 in the fourth quarter to get beat by 20. So, I have a hard time trying to figure out this game this week. Also, turnovers are a problem. Now, they're unlucky, I think. Turnovers are really hard to gauge where the skill is and where the luck is. But you can't win a game when you turn the ball over 4 times. They did that last week. I have both these teams dead even on my PR against an average team, right? So Bengals at home, I would have them as a 2-point favorite here. Now that they're a 1.5 dog, and I assume it's in part because of the marketplace and in part because Joe Burrow's hand is a question mark. Now, what's the news right now, Kush? Do we know he's going to play, right?
Well, he says he's going to play, but I've heard a lot of players say they're going to play and then it doesn't work. So here's what I would do. And first of all, I wouldn't even bet this thing right now. I would go in with it with an assumption that Burrow is going to play, but it's not going to be where you need it to be, and that a guy in Joe Mixon, who they already love, would probably get a little more work than normal.
Yeah, I agree. I think you have to hold off right now because in a perfect world, Bengals at +1.5 should be a play here, considering that I would have them a 2-point favorite at home. And one thing that's slightly concerning, for whatever reason, under Shanahan, the 49ers play way better on the road than they do at home. 2 years now in a row where the numbers are a stark difference. But you're right. I think you have to hold off and wait to see what's going on with the pinky. If he's good and he's okay to go, I think they probably sneak over the 47.5 or 48 last time I checked. And they probably go up and down the field on each other. And I would lean towards the Bengals +1.5 if Burrow goes. But right now, I guess we have to hold off and wait.
Bengals great against the run. That's the first thing. Second of all, Eli Mitchell, he's still in concussion protocol. They went to the practice squad and called up Brian Hill. I mean, this really is a mess, Keg. I'm glad you brought the game up, though, because I think we needed to talk through the process of trying to work it out. Now, from a DFS side, Mangone, again, I think Mixon gets a lot more work. People people, maybe they look at what he did last week and say, Joe Mixon, he had a great matchup against the Chargers and it didn't work out. This guy is still getting the ball a ton. And just using logic, maybe they don't throw Burrow as much. Then you like Mixon a little bit. I think we're without Deebo Samuel as of right now. Ayuk really disappointed. What can you give me here on a Wednesday with a lot up in the air injury-wise?
You know what I can do? I can pivot to Keg and ask him two questions, Holden. I got two questions for him here. So one, Keg, you mentioned the Niners road, like playing bad on the road. Here's my question. Do you think that's a little skewed because of the division opponents they have to play? Because they are playing in one of the tougher divisions. They play more games against them. And that's also included in the data is the year that they won the Super Bowl, them having a more difficult schedule, getting a lot of tougher 1 seeds, right? From all the divisions based on the way the scheduling is done. Does that make sense, Keg? Could it just be a little skewed?
I definitely think that's fair. The NFC West is definitely the best division in football, I think, right? I don't think we're going out on a limb there. So, yeah, I mean, it's tough sled no matter who you play in that division. So, yeah, it could be skewed. And in terms of coming off the year with the Super Bowl, yeah, I mean, I think those are fair points. Definitely.
Yeah, I was just curious because that's something that just popped in my brain that I thought could be playing a factor. And then the Bengals, I want to talk about them real quick and their offensive line issues because they had 2 offensive line not playing against the Chargers on Sunday. It got announced. I think they're missing a center and either a guard or tackle. And I mean, that's a huge loss. Like the second I saw it, I was like, okay, on the Chargers, like I thought they were a good bet. And I mean, what do you think about that? And are they going to be back? Because offensive line play is very important. We get offensive linemen that are just randomly out on Sunday morning. I think that's really key. And that had me more nervous about the Bengals. And I think that could be another thing to be concerned about with this game.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I mean, I don't know what the status are on the 2 offensive linemen that didn't play last week. I know they practiced yesterday, Kush. Is there any news?
No, not right now.
Yeah,
right.
So
it's worth mentioning because I think people sometimes just want to not put a lot of value on that. We're like, man, like a 3rd and 6 that could have been converted when there's just like a missed block on the blind side or something like that. Like it just can add up throughout the game. And like, you know, offensive line plays a lot of synergy, man. I mean, it's very important and it matters. So I think that's just worth calling out. So I want to see kind of what the status is on that. And to talk about offensive line play, like one reason why this Niners team is pretty good, I think, is because of how good their offensive line is with the run and with getting George Kittle back for the blocking. And I was someone last week that was like, I was nervous about playing Kittle because I said, well, if they're up against Seattle, it's going to be a problem. But if they're down, give me George Kittle all day. And if you think the Niners are going to be losing this game, you should be putting George Kittle into your lineups. It's just plain and simple because they will lean on him. That's what happens. They lean on him when they need to. And if they're up, they're just going to pound the rock. They're going to use Kittle in the blocking game. They're going to, find ways just to nickel and dime it down the field with Jimmy G because they don't want to put the ball in his hands and have him try and win games. You think that they're comfortable with Jimmy Garoppolo doing a game-leading drive, like a 2-minute drill? Of course not. They don't want that happening. They want to pound the rock on you. Now, I think Kittle, if you are going to play a Joe Burrow stack, you need to have Kittle in it. It's just simple. So if you do go Joe Burrow with Jamar Chase, who is very cheap over on DraftKings and can definitely pop off in this game, you can go with that. My concern is I am worried about the Joe Burrow injury. I'm curious to see how the ownership shakes out because this is a game that is arguably the 2nd or 3rd best game on the entire slate. If you look at it, there's a lot of games like that are low totals, like we talked about. Also, one of the other games that we'll discuss, I'm a little scared it's going to blow out. I'm scared the Chiefs are just going to kill the Raiders pretty badly. I also think that there's another game like that Bucs game that's getting a lot of ownership. So I'm running out of games to go to. And if you tell me somehow I can get Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and George Kittle all below maybe like 5% like each because people maybe are scared off Burrow. Maybe people don't play Jamar Chase because they are worried about Burrow as well. And there's other receivers to go to. And then people just don't want to spend on a tight end. It just could be a really interesting stack that people avoid because of the Joe Burrow injury situation.
Looking at ESPN right now, Trey Hopkins questionable. And right tackle Riley Reef still questionable.
Yeah, we know nothing.
Yeah,
we know nothing.
Yeah, I just think it's worth like calling out. Check that on Sunday morning.
Doubt.
They're just so. I don't have the answer right now, but I think those things matter, and people just don't look at them enough and value them. I think it's
on the final countdown when I'm leading up to lock JSU. JJ's up there too. I always bring it up because it's really on the Friday show, the news dump. It's not just running backs, wide receivers, quarterbacks, and tight ends. If there's massive injuries on the defensive side of the ball, if offensive linemen are missing, Mangone, so that's 100% accurate. The other thing with Jamar Chase, 200-yard game, he hasn't reached 60 since. T. Higgins, man, he's just a monster, and he blew up again last week. I'm almost to the point now, and I get why people would be on Jamar Chase, but if I'm rolling Burrow out there or I'm rolling with anything in that game, I think Higgins is my guy these days. What?
Sorry, I was just going to say one more thing. Recreational sports bettors that, only do it on the weekends and have fun. When they check injury news, they always gravitate towards the playmakers. Mm-hmm. And what they don't understand is the trenches are everything in the NFL. It's always going to come down to starting offensive linemen are so much more important, in my opinion, than most weapons offensively. And the same could be said on defense. Cornerbacks in the front seven are huge. So I just think that's one thing recreational bettors don't put enough stock into.
Okay, can you name me a team that's won the Super Bowl with a bad offensive line? Like I'm not saying I can name every offensive line in the league, right? But I don't ever remember a team winning the Super Bowl and you're like, man, their offensive line play is terrible. Like, I think quarterback's number one, offensive line is number two. That's just where you have to start. And then you can make arguments like D-line is like maybe three, front seven, like different pieces. But I think one is quarterback and two is offensive line. Like if I was building a team, that's where all my priorities would start, 1 and 2.
Yeah, I mean, for four of the Super Bowls that New England won with Brady, they had the best offensive line in football by a mile.
Yep.
So, yeah, I agree.
And I want to address a couple chat questions that we had because some people have, it sounds like we got some newer people in here. So I want to kind of, break down some of my thoughts. Someone asked what NME is, and that's multi-entry. So that's if like you're in a contest, and multi-entry could be 150 lineups. It could be 10 lineups. It all depends. It could even be 5 lineups, right? It's just how you allocate like your teams. And if you're going to play, like, let's say you're playing 10 teams and you're going on the Bucks and Bills stacks, like I'd make sure to have some Stephon Diggs in your Bucks and Bills stacks. And then this kind of correlates with what Tony's saying. Tony's asking, over the last 4 weeks, Tampa Bay are better than average against pass defense. So why play Diggs, who never seems to get over 20? Like, Tony, you're kind of making my point. And I talked with Hoop and I talked with Title about this on the Tuesday show. Ownership is what matters in tournaments, right? If you're telling me I can get Stephon Diggs at 5%, in the highest total game, and he is a talented receiver, like we talked about on one of the Showdown shows. We talked about DK Metcalf versus Jalen Ramsey, and I'm talking to my buddy, and he doesn't play a lot of DFS, but he's building teams, and he says to me, "Oh, I can't play DK Metcalf against Jalen Ramsey." I said, "Why not?" He's not going to be, if his ownership is low enough. It's about when you hit that play, the amount you get back for it, and could Stephon Diggs have a big game here? Yes, Stephon Diggs can blow up. He's a very talented receiver. You see that video on Twitter where he just absolutely destroyed Lattimore with his footwork? I mean, he's incredible. So if he's going to be low owned, I will take him over a 30% wide receiver that is of a similar talent. And I will overspend. I will spend extra money to get that lower ownership, because when I win, and if he's the guy that can get me over the hump, I'm going to be by myself on an island with Stephon Diggs. And that's a good spot to be in. So I think that's a pretty good breakdown of why I think that could be interesting. Now, if people gravitate towards Diggs and he's a lot higher owned, then I'm not as interested, right? I think that's going to be key with this game, because I do think a lot of people are going to gravitate towards this 53 total.
All right, guys. Anything you want to plug here for the site, and just do my job, Mangone, as you like to say? Anything going on?
Yeah, we do have some stuff going on here at Run Pure Sports and Run Pure Bets. We got tons of great winners, obviously, to be given out. I know Tyler absolutely crushed it on the Run Pure Bet side for Monday night with all the unders he gave out. So he did a great job there. But we got some stuff on the Run Pure Sports side that we got to talk about. There's a big announcement coming up. I believe it'll be on the Hardwood Show today. We gave a little bit of a preview yesterday on the Tuesday not Showdown show, Up the Lock show. So you can go back and check that out if you want to get a little bit sneak of it, but show up to the Run Pure Sports YouTube channel at 4:45, and I believe that's when the announcement will be made, and they'll be talking about that. I can't give it all away, but I promise you will want to see it, and it'll be a game changer for you. I promise you for sure. If you are someone that loves sports, you love DFS, and you are trying to get better at it, we're going to do our best to help you out, and I think we've done a great job.
Love it.
Get me all sorts of excited right now. I don't even know what's going on.
You have no idea, huh?
None. No, but I'm excited.
Yeah, I know what it is, except I don't know what it is. So I know what they're going to say. I just don't know what it is that they're saying about. So I'll leave it at that. I'm confused, and it's not really anything that should surprise anybody. So let's go on to our next game here. Baltimore and Cleveland here. You know what? You hit me up this morning, Kegger. You're like, I don't get what's going on here with this Ravens thing. Let me read you some notes about the Ravens I found, all right? Because Lamar's in a slump his last 3 games. His QBR is 22nd in the NFL. He's got 3 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. He's been sacked 13 times. He's holding on to the ball a long time. Awful against the blitz after 2 years being terrific against the blitz. Now you've got Harbaugh saying they're considering going up tempo, which would be fascinating for DFS. Marlon Humphrey, done. Marcus Peters, done. Top 2 corners, done. Deshaun Elliott, big-time safety, on IR. They are absolutely pummeled injury-wise. You've got Lamar Jackson not playing good football, just a little midseason slump here toward the later end of the season, and they need to get their stuff together. So it is Ravens plus 2.5 on the road against a middling Browns team. The total is 42. Can you trust the Ravens on the road the way they've been playing and all these injuries that are racking up?
Man, you couldn't have teed it up better, because the first line of my notes say that this entire season, the Baltimore Ravens have felt like a fugazi. They're just not good to me. Granted, I know they're going through the injuries. Now, this line opened Ravens -1 on the look-ahead last week. It's now moved 3.5 points. Holden basically just told you guys why that is. But the Ravens are a slightly above average football team in my mind. Yet, here they sit, despite the injuries. 8-4. I think they're currently tied for the number 2 seed in the AFC. But did they look like the number 2 seed in the conference last week when they lost to a 100-year-old Ben Roethlisberger on one of the worst Steelers teams that we've seen in a decade? No. I just don't buy this team, man. They just got by the Bears a couple weeks back. They lost to the Dolphins by multiple scores the week before that. I'm not impressed. And I understand that you have to at least say, what would this team be at full strength? That's fair. That's fair. But like Holden just said, Lamar Jackson having his struggles. They're almost outside the top 20 in both offense and defense on many categories in the analytics. And that matches my eye test. Now, despite all that, I still have them 10th or 11th in my power ratings. But the question is, are they good enough to beat the Browns for the second time in 3 weeks, which is very hard to do in the National Football League, especially when the secondary's in shambles, right? You just said it. No Marcus Peters, no Deshaun Elliott. Humphreys possibly done for the year, I think, right? So it's tough sledding for the Ravens defense right now. As far as the Browns, they had the bye last week, but they have not been playing inspired football really themselves. You can make the argument that the Browns have beat one good football team the entire year, and that was in division against Cincinnati, because we're at the point of the season now where the body of work matters. The teams that the Browns have beat this year do not inspire confidence. They beat the Texans, Lions, Broncos, Bears, Vikings, and Bengals. Any team worth their salt that the Browns have played, they have lost to this year. But they still have a shot at the playoffs. They're coming in off the bye. I expect them to be focused after playing this team a couple weeks ago. But when you take a look at the line, it has moved 3.5 points from the look-ahead line. But, cluster injuries compound. Only quarterbacks, in terms of single players, only quarterbacks are capable of moving a spread 3.5 to 4 points. But when one group gets compounded with injuries, that could tend to move the line a few points. And that's basically what we've seen here. And like I said, it is very hard to beat a National Football League team twice in 3 weeks. So despite the line move, I'm going to lean with the Browns here, even though you could have got it 3.5 points better last week. But if you're asking my opinion, I think this is a really hard game to bet. I will lean with the Browns. As far as the total, it's moved 2.5 points to the under. I like the under 45, but at 42.5, I still have a slight lean to the under. But now you have lost a couple points of line value to get involved, but I still think there's a little meat on the bone. I have a hard time seeing these teams after the way that we've seen both these teams look the last 3 weeks. I have a hard time seeing how they get up and over 43. So slight lean to the under, and I guess a slight lean to the Browns, although I would not bet it.
So there are some very friendly DFS players in here in this game. Mangone, the question is, how do you dig it up? It's a low total game. You've got Lamar Jackson. You've got Chubb and Hunt, who are probably going to split a lot of time, right? You've got Marquise Brown. Bateman has been an absolute – he's been garbage. I don't even think you can run him out there. Donovan Peoples-Jones at 3.9. Jarvis Landry, we'll see if he feels good enough to play. And then Mark Andrews. And Njoku is on the COVID list, so Austin Hooper is going to move up and probably have a chance to do some damage. Yeah, there's some names here, but do you want to go here?
Yeah, there are some names. I don't know if I want to go there. The Browns are just a tough situation. The only guy sort of have some interest in on the Browns would be probably Jarvis Landry at 5'4", just because he's now it's just rare you get a wide receiver one that's it's his offense, right? To be the number one guy for the most part at 5.4K. So he's someone I'm definitely going to consider, not someone I'm going to prioritize in my lineups. And then Lamar is the guy I keep going back and forth on because he feels really cheap on FanDuel at 7.9K. Rushing touchdowns have a lot of value over there because it is a touchdown equity site. And they are getting to the point. I mean, they're 8-4. They're not backs against the wall yet, but soon, Lamar Jackson's got to stop being QB1 and just be RB1 and get the job done, right? What are we doing here? Stop dropping back as much, start running a little bit more. It's just getting a little old and it's getting cold, Holden. And when it's getting cold, do you want to tackle in the cold as much? Not really. It's a little tougher. I know these guys are supposed to be tough guys and all, but we definitely have seen, Derrick Henry in the past. And I know he's an anomaly, right? Run people over, but it definitely is a little, it's hard to go outside when it's colder and make some tackles. So I do think Lamar Jackson is someone that's in play, but if I play him, it's more so, I think, naked, right? It's more so by himself. I'm not really trying to pair any of these other options too much. And just kind of moving on. I just don't know if it's going to be the correct construction on this slate for me. That's the thing I'm kind of struggling with to figure out because salaries do matter. And it's if for some reason I'm deciding not to play that really high total game or only get small pieces of that game. Well, if I do get small pieces of it, I still have to spend some money to get the pieces. And a lot of the other options that I'm looking at that are in the same, that are similar type of plays, they're kind of expensive. And what ends up happening is I'm on the same path. And maybe it's just trying to find a punt quarterback to go to, right? Maybe it's getting really uncomfortable with Jimmy Garoppolo, right? I don't know. It's just, I'm trying to find a cheap quarterback as that differentiation move on this slate that could be a little bit unique with the stack. That's what I'm still trying to work through and figure out, and definitely still have not found that route completely. But that's kind of my thought process on why I might not go to Lamar, because it does cost a lot of money to do it, and I don't see a lot of great correlation pieces. He feels like a better cash game play than a tournament play.
Okay, that'll do it for that game. Thank God. That's ugly. There's a lot of stuff we still need to learn about it. Let's go to Dallas and Washington. Ooh, the rivalry between Dallas and Washington. Weather could be an issue in Washington. Just keep an eye on it right now. Football team, and you know what? I shouldn't even said anything. So we'll just move on as is. Move along. +4 for the Washington football team at home. Total here is 47.5, 48. Again, these two teams very familiar with each other. Let me get you a good stat I just found, though. on Amari Cooper because he notoriously just tears the Washington team apart. So last year, Andy Dalton, 6 for 112 and a touchdown, 7 for 80 with Dalton. Then with Dak, 4 for 92, 4 for 44 and a touchdown, 8 for 180 and 2. So Mangone, I want to start with you this time on the DFS side because we have not gone to I have not gone to Amari Cooper, but maybe 1 week this year. And it might've been did he even play Thanksgiving? I don't remember that. So who's in play here? Because everybody seems to be good to go. CeeDee Lamb, good to go. Zeke says he's not going to sit out. So I think that kind of muddles the backfield with him and Pollard. And on the other side, Heineke, not expensive. McLaurin has not done anything recently. Gibson has been a workhorse. And at tight end, Dalton Schultz. And now we're going to get Ricky Seals-Jones back at 3.6. A lot of options here, Mangone.
Yeah, a lot of options, and it's pretty frustrating, right? It's one of the games that feels like a decent one to target. And from a game stacking perspective, I think it can go off and be a good game. But the problem is trying to figure out who's going to be the guy, right? You got Dak, you got Zeke, you got Pollard, Lamb, Cooper, Gallup, Schultz. Like there are just so many options and routes that it can go that it definitely concerns me a bit for sure. So that's one of the struggles I'm having with this game. On the other side, Antonio Gibson still looks like a great play. Is JD McKissic going to be good to go for this game, Holding? Because that's pretty important. Do you have any? He
might. I think he is trying to practice.
Okay. His status matters because if not, like Gibson's obviously a better play, even though they're dogs, he's going to get more involved in the offense. Terry McLaurin, good spend up option. That'll be a little bit unique. It's not the perfect spot, but again, if you do play him, you're doing it because it's low owned, right? It's like a differentiation play in your lineup that has a very high ceiling and upside that you can go to. I do like the Ricky Seals-Jones idea. I think he's definitely in play. You can even argue this John Bates dude is in play if Ricky Seals-Jones for some reason does not play. I know he was like a little iffy, but Ricky Seals-Jones is definitely talented for his price and someone that you can look at there. But in tournaments, it's hard for me to figure out where to go. That's one of the issues. And another thing to mention is Zeke's price tag on FanDuel. And this is the best way to put it in perspective, Holden. You got Hilliard is 5.3K over on DK, right? Zeke is 7.3. And then on FanDuel, Zeke is 6.9, while Hilliard is 7K. Just like a really weird, drastic difference in price. Running back is also it's one of those things where you have to like kind of wait as the week develops and see who's in, see who's out. But I do think at his price, even though Pollard is there on FanDuel, you can't ignore Zeke at that price tag. It does feel like it's just really, really cheap at 6.9K. So I'm not completely ignoring him, but I want to see how obviously all the injuries shake out throughout the week and how value, opens up.
All right. So Rivera says he's hoping that McKissic can come back from the concussion this week, but he did not practice today. Ricky Seals-Jones did. He's limited. Okay. Let's go to you on this one. Kegger, you want to talk a little bit about this. Cowboys -4 on the road, 47.5, 48 the total. What do you got?
Yeah, it's actually a pretty big game for the NFC East. I mean, the Cowboys have looked pretty ordinary lately, I guess. They've lost 2 of the last 3 of the last 5 against pretty ordinary competition, too, in the Raiders and the Broncos. But, right now they have a 2-game lead over Washington. They still have to play them twice. So this race for the NFC East, I think, is a little bit more interesting than people thought it would be after Fitzpatrick went down. But, I thought the passing game looked solid for the Cowboys last week. They finally had all their playmakers healthy on offense. And when Lamb and Cooper are on the field, it opens up that offense and give players like Gallup and Pollard the mismatches that they really need in order to be ultra effective in that offense. So Dallas is getting healthy for the final push of the regular season. And when they're healthy, they're a top 5 offense, man, in the league, no doubt. As far as Washington's concerned, they've been playing well the last 4 weeks. That's 4 wins in a row for them now. And despite the injuries they've had to deal with this year, they find a way to grind out really ugly wins, man. What I will say is that it feels like this team has been in a bunch of 50-50 games late in the third quarter, early fourth quarter, and when the game can go either way in terms of fourth quarter win share, they have found a way to come out on the right side of the outcome on most of those games. And that is not sustainable in this league. And eventually they will drop one of these close games late in the game. Now, the offense has held their own this year with Heineke, who's played, I think, slightly better than his backup tag said he would. But this defense is still pretty disappointing, despite them playing better now without Chase Young. I think James Smith-Williams has filled that role nicely. But all in all, I think Washington is still alive, has a path to the postseason, but they'll have to continue to win these close games. And I'm not sure if they're capable of doing that. The look-ahead line in this game was Cowboys -5 last week. So the market has moved towards Washington this week. The game's, I think it's pretty accurately lined right now. I have Dallas like 5.5 points better on a neutral, which would make this game 3.5. Right now, there are spots where this line is Dallas -4. So I don't really think there's a real edge on the side, although considering that I have Washington to win the NFC East this year, I might throw a little bit of money on Dallas to mitigate the damage and maybe get a little equity back in that future. I gave that out to Run Pure Bet subscribers, so you might want to consider that. But I think the side at this number is a pass. As far as the total, despite the Cowboys averaging like 35 points a game this season at home, they have seriously struggled on the road. They're only averaging 22.5 points a game on the road this year. So, I mean, that's almost a 2-touchdown difference. So, to me, it's hard to back the over 48 here. So, I'll have a slight lean to the under. So, yeah, I mean, I would say slight lean to the under here at 48. And if you already have a future on Washington to win the NFC East, I would consider maybe throwing a little bit of money on Dallas -4. If not, I think the side's a pass, slight under 48.
Okay, very good. Hit the like button. Subscribe to the Run Pure Sports channel. Subscribe to the Run Pure Bets channel. Kegger, what do you got going on the bet side right now?
A lot of winners. Everybody's crushing. JJ's crushing the NFL. Tyler's doing a great job in the NFL. Spreads holding it down basically single-handedly with the NBA this year. Joey's on the break, obviously, because MLB's off. But anybody that wants to join the website, you could use promo code BETS25 off. It'll get you 25% off the first week or month. It's only $60 a month. I think it's the best deal right now in sports betting content. And if you already have the DFS side, you could use the promo code GETBETS, and that will give you the first month free on the bet side.
Okay, so the next game, and you and I, Keg, we do work together. You hop on every Saturday for my Saturday show on the Denver City Cast. It's a VSiN show. Bet River sponsors it, so I got to get that off my chest. Listen and subscribe, of course. But we've been killing it, especially on the Broncos bets. Last time you were on, you had the Packers too. I think, plus 5.85 units the last 2 weeks. And it's really digging into the Broncos for me, which has helped. Right now, the line on the Lions and the Broncos is 42.5. It's a plus 7.5, plus 8 for the Lions. So the Broncos at home. I don't think anybody's going to trust the Broncos to cover a line now. But 10 of the 12 games have gone under. You've got a head coach that wants to run the ball 30 to 35 times a game. This is the perfect matchup for that. I truly believe the Lions just spent everything last week. Their offense, they've scored 20 points one time on the road. And I know you weren't thrilled about the total moving from 45 down to 42.5, but I hit it this morning and I felt really good about it. A little bit at 43.5 earlier in the week, 42.5 for the rest of the 3 quarters of the unit. And I want to get your thoughts on that because this Broncos offense, if Melvin Gordon comes back, I still think they're going to have the same production out of the backfield as Javonte doing it by himself. And the Lions have Jared Goff. I mean, to me, the only thing that puts this thing over is, a turnover deep in your own territory and a pick six on top of that. Broncos Lions, what do you got for us?
Yeah, I don't disagree with anything that you just said. I'll be quick. I look at this game, man. I understand that we're talking about a 1-10 football team, the Lions, who just got their first win of the year. So there's going to be a lot of people that think this is the game where they exhale, they relax, they probably get killed by 30. I've died on the hill all year that the Lions have played better than their record says that they have, okay? Now, this is not a good football team by any means. Dan Campbell makes you scratch your head almost every single week when you watch the Lions. But who are the Denver Broncos to give 8 points to anybody in the National Football League right now? Okay? They've lost 6 of their last 9. We aren't talking about a monstrous football team here. Now, can they beat this Lions team by 9? Yes, they can. Do I think it's a coin flip that happens more than 5 out of 10 times? No, I don't. So I'm going to lean taking the points here with the Lions, and whatever happens, happens here. As far as the total, I think you're dead on balls, man. The only reason that I'm not on it is because we lost a little bit of value. The opening line I see, actually, I was wrong. It wasn't 45. It was 43.5. And that felt pretty accurate here. The line is 42.5 right now. And I still think that there is some meat on the bone. I don't see how this game goes over that number. I took a look at the team totals. Detroit is 16.5. That line feels about right to me. And the Broncos line is 26. That feels a bit high to me. But I don't see a big enough edge to get involved with the team totals. But I do agree with you. I think this is a dead nut under. They don't want you to bet the under. That's why they set this line at 42 right now. But I just don't see how it goes over. And I'm probably going to take any team getting 8 points against the Broncos, even on the road. So I lean the Lions, and I agree with your under. I think it's a great play.
I kind of lean the Lions too, because again, as bad as I think that the Lions are, and they could have I can't believe I'm saying a letdown, especially with the way that team's played. Denver just doesn't win by double unless it's the Cowboys, Mangone, if Javonte has the backfield to himself, obviously we're going there. If Melvin Gordon's back, would you consider going Javonte? And is there anything else you consider with this game besides for maybe the Denver defense?
Yeah, I mean, if Melvin's not in, I would love Javonte in this spot. It'd be a great play. I think DFS wise, you can make a case like these price tags are really cheap for the team total that the Broncos have, where I don't know, Teddy Bridgewater could be kind of intriguing. So I don't hate it as like a small stack you can go to, but the problem is playing that guessing game with some of these guys. It could be any of them, but they are cheap price tags on them. So I think there's a really nice ceiling for them there. But I don't need to say too much more else because good luck figuring out the Lions side for DFS. You don't need to mess with that. But let's go to the betting side because I'm on the other side, like not so fast, my friends. Like the Lions, you guys are, so think about this. You're gonna get up, Holden, like you're on your couch, so it's a little easier, but you're gonna get up, you're gonna walk to the sports betting window, you're gonna hand American dollars over on Jared Goff in the outdoors in December. You're gonna do that?
Listen. Are you really want to lay 8.5 with Denver?
I don't, but you know what we can do? We can both win. You know that, right? You can get your 8.5. I'll tease it with another team. Give me another team. I'll tease it through all the way down to the 1.5 or whatever. And both be winners.
I don't mind that. I agree with that look. I don't mind that at all.
So that's my plan. But now here's my question to you, Keg. Give me another one to tease through because it's not the greatest week for it. I mean, I'm not seeing some amazing spots for it. I think Kansas City's okay if you could get 8.5, like you get it through the 7 and the 3. It's not perfect. I'm just
our next game. Is
it Seattle and Houston?
No, well, we're gonna get to Carolina, Atlanta, and then I think the other one to look at is Ravens.
No, you can't. I guess you could tease that. Sorry.
Yeah, Ravens plus 8.5. You don't. I think that's kind of sexy too.
I don't mind the Falcons. I don't mind the Falcons plus 8.5.
Or the Ravens plus 8.5.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Huh? So I'm with you, Mangone, because I looked at this. I was like, holy moly, there's some shitty games. And the more I dug into it, I'm like, I actually like the Ravens more. But let's get into this Falcons-Panthers game.
Yeah. One last thing. Yeah. If you're in a survivor, and have the Broncos, take the Broncos. Like it's.
I also agree with Mangone. I mean, it's really scary to take Jared Goff in December on the road in Denver. I mean, that's a scary proposition.
Not doing it.
They just got that first win, right? It's one of those things where once you get the
You've
been dialed in and focused. You've been kicked to the ground so much all year, and now you're finally up off the ground. I mean, they're going to suck.
All I'll say is just remember they are playing a team that's lost 6 of the last 9 games. That's all I'm saying. But yeah, I agree with a lot. But you know what, Trav? Oftentimes in the NFL, the bets that you make that you hate, that scare the shit out of you, are most often the games that cash.
I agree. So I'm not out here like touting 8.5, right? I like the tease spot. I think it's an amazing, like it's the best. Like if you were doing teasers and you wanted to do 5 of them, this would probably be on every single one for me. That's just my opinion.
That's fair.
Okay, let's get to our final game then. Atlanta and Carolina. I mean, this is awful, man. Panthers -2.5 at home. 42.5 is the total. Panthers making a change at offensive coordinator. Both teams are in complete disarray. Do you have any thoughts on this game, Keg? Because you put it on the list.
I wanted to talk about this game only because the Atlanta Falcons gave me the worst beat I've had on the spreadsheet all year in the NFL last week.
Again.
I had their team total over 19.5 last week, man, going, okay? They put up 17 in the first half and went scoreless in the second half while they punted 3 times in the second half from the Tampa Bay 45-yard line. So that was pain, okay? But putting my pain aside.
Can I call a timeout here? Do you not remember me hopping on the live show with you and us betting on a Falcons team total over? This is in the last 3 weeks. They score a touchdown. All we need is 3 points the last 22, 23 minutes and nothing.
Well, here we go again.
Screw them.
Yeah.
I hate them. Them and the Chargers could screw off.
Oh, the Chargers. All right. But listen, to me, I think that these are 2 pretty evenly matched football teams. Despite Matt Ryan playing well at times this year, I think both quarterbacks are at this point are close to a liability. Granted, I think Matty Ice is better than Darnold, of course. But, you know, I mean, he did nothing for me in the second half last week. Both teams, I think, have one player that they lean heavily on to find offensive success in Cordell Patterson and McCaffrey. And, you know, you can make the argument that where these teams differentiate this year is defensively, right? Atlanta has one of the 3 worst defenses in the league. Carolina, at least analytically, has a top 12 defense pretty much the entire year. So I think that the default position that a lot of people are going to take here is to lean towards the Panthers in this game. But the Panthers have been in free fall for over 2 months. They've lost 7 of their last 9. They're tough to back, man. Now, the Run Pure Bets power ratings have Atlanta 1 point worse than the Panthers on a neutral, which would make this line 3 in Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
And this line is currently 3 in Carolina. So the line's accurate, but I'm going to lean towards taking the field goal with Atlanta with 2 bad football teams. Now, as far as the total, I'm going to lean under. These 2 teams averaged 37 points a game this year, okay? So I'll lean under the 43. Even though you have lost 2 points of value, it was 45. The market realized that was a bad number. They pushed it down. It's at 43, but they only average 37 points a game, and I'm gonna lean under here. And listen, I'm not telling anybody to go out and bet Atlanta, but if you're asking me my opinion, I'm gonna lean with taking the field goal.
Okay, take the field goal. I don't even want anything to do with that game. You're not going to put that on the sheet, are you?
I did just say I'm not going to bet the game.
Good. Thank you. I was just looking up a line for the Minnesota-Pittsburgh one. So you said Atlanta, and I checked out. I hate them. I hate them with a passion.
Hey, could you imagine in the year 2021 walking into the window? Just imagine this. You walk up to the window and you say, I want to back Cam Newton as a quarterback, as a favorite. I'm in. Like, no, that sounds terrible. Like
No.
that does not sound like a good time. So
I want nothing to do with that. But Mangone, do we want anything to do with anything from this game? I mean, I guess there's Cordell Patterson.
He was a beast, though. I mean, that kid's a beast.
yeah, I mean that he is. I mean, my one buddy always jokes with me every week. There's the MVP of the league, just tearing it up again. Like, and it's he has been crushing, and that's the one thing the Falcons were really lacking for a while when Patterson was hurt, is their run game was a disaster. I don't know what it is. Once Patterson gets to that second level, he's able to make some really great plays. So get him out on the edge and he's good. And on top of that, I do like the Panthers coach, right? I think Rule's a guy that he's able to do some smart things, but I just don't think he's equipped enough with the right tools. And that's one of the issues that's going on here. So I kind of don't mind the tease opportunity with the Falcons, like you were talking about. But like, that's really it. And DFS wise, it's just, I think it's a bad use of your salary to go this way. And sometimes too, it takes a team some time to adjust when, things are just changing all season long. And they've been without Calvin Ridley for a while. This has been like their same team. And the Panthers, it's just been in flux all year long. McCaffrey in, McCaffrey out, PJ Walker, then Cam Newton. And sometimes like synergy just gets there. And it feels like the Falcons, not that they're rolling, but everyone was surprised that they were more so hanging in there with the Bucs. And I told you at the start of the year, we made that bet, Keg. I think I'm in the clear where you're buying me lunch. Falcons more wins than Lions.
Definitely in the clear, bro. Yep. 100%.
We'll have to see, but if they could sneak out a win, hey, the Falcons are 6-7. They're not out of the playoff race, as crazy as that sounds. Not saying they'll get there, but I kind of am with you. And of course, the Panthers are similar because they got a lot of wins at the end of the year. It's 2 5-7 teams. I'm with you. If you do back a side, it's probably the Atlanta side, but I don't mind the tease opportunity with the 8.5.
Hey guys, last game to get to. Hit the like button, subscribe to the Run Pure Sports and Run Pure Bets YouTube channels, and then I'll give you the code one more time. I mean, 3/4 of our viewers probably know what the RPS Eater 25 is. But Thursday Night Football, Steelers-Vikings, Steelers +3 on the road. The Mercurial Vikings. 43.5 is the total here. The injury news is going to be big. Thielen is out. When I get to Mangone, we'll talk about KJ Osborne. I think he'll probably be a pretty popular play. On the Steelers side, not too worried about too much. And Ben had one halfway decent game. Does he have enough in this game to cover, or actually, to +3 for the Steelers to cover here?
All right, so JJ will have a video out today for the Thursday night game on our Run Pure Bets YouTube channel. Make sure everybody checks that out. He's been rock solid this year, all year in the NFL, and all three of us have done pretty good with primetime games. As far as I'm concerned, if this game was a 1 o'clock game, I'd be all over the Vikings and probably all over their team total over 23.5, even without Thielen in the dome. But Kirk Cousins just does, for whatever reason, he does not get up for these primetime games. There's a big enough track record now where there's something to it. So no Thielen in this game. Dalvin Cook questionable, did not practice yesterday also. So I'll probably avoid that team total, even though I do think that the Minnesota Vikings are a better football team than the Steelers this year. After saying all that, it should be the Justin Jefferson show. The kid is a freak. He's a top 10 receiver in the league already. But they're making you pay a premium to back him now. His number is 92.5 yards and 7.5 receptions for this game. Those are high, but I think he gets over 92.5 tomorrow. 3 of the last 4 games, 182 yards, 169 yards, 143 yards. He's playing at such a high level right now. It's like he's on Mars. So if you don't want to get involved because 92 yards is too high of a line for you, I think that Tyler Conklin's going to get more targets than normal because Thielen's not going to play. His number's 39.5 yards and 3.5 receptions. I think he's capable of probably getting over both of those tomorrow night. And I might have a piece of all three. I'm definitely going to have a little money on Jefferson over 92.5. And I'm probably going to have a piece of Conklin some way, either the 39.5 yards or the 3.5 receptions.
Do you see anything on KJ Osborne?
I'll check right now.
Yeah,
But
because
other than that, that's all I've got.
yeah, because I think Conklin does get a boost there, but now Osborne is going to be thrust into that wide receiver 2 role.
Yeah, 42.5 receiving yards.
Yeah, I could see him that or the receptions. Like if he's at 3.5 receptions, I would bet the over on that 4. I don't know about the. I don't know about
was that 42.5 Kirk Cousins passing line in prime time? Because we know he can barely get like 20 yards in prime
you don't
time.
want to trust any of that. So do you want in Showdown?
His number's like 258. Cousins.
It's a lot.
Yeah.
So
I don't see an Osborne reception prop, but it's 42.5 receiving yards.
So I think both defenses might be in play. Definitely the Steelers defense. Let's talk about Showdown here. Mangone, KJ Oz. You're obviously going to play some really shitty plays like Ray McLeod, which I'm fine with. KJ Osborne, Tyler Conklin, Freiermuth, Claypool. Like, all right, Justin Jefferson, Deontay Johnson, Harris, and Madison, they stand out. But there's so many secondary options here that could make a massive impact. This will be a fascinating Showdown slate. I mean, sometimes the path is a little bit easier, like it was with that win game the other night. I think this is just going to be difficult to pick out which other guy or guys are going to step up.
Yeah, I think it's not as hard. So it's Big Ben. It's the Big Ben reunion tour here. Not reunion. The closeout tour, right? He's going to be passing the rock a ton, I'm sure. And it does feel like that this team has went back to their old ways of last year. Last year, what were they doing? They said, okay, we don't have a run game. So what are we going to do? Let's just throw a lot of short yardage stuff. And they're basically run plays. Deontay Johnson, we'll throw him a 2-yard route. It's basically a run play. And it feels like they're going back to that, which is better than just running Najee Harris in the backfield because you get a guy in open space instead of Najee Harris having to, find the right hole or break the right tackle and then get to the second level and break another tackle. You just have Deontay on the outside making plays. If he makes breaks a couple guys, it turns into a 20-yard play rather than like a 10-yard play off of a Najee Harris run. That is what I think has been better for the Steelers. Now, yes, you can make arguments they lost to the Chargers, but no one thought they'd hang into that game as well as they did, I think. So I like the Steelers a little bit here with the +3. I would even sprinkle the money line because I'm not a believer in this Vikings team. Who are the Vikings missing? They are missing 2 of their key defensive ends. Are they missing for a while? And when you have that bad of an offensive line with the Steelers, that's going to help them be able to kind of move it a little bit more. On top of that, they were missing Anthony Barr the other day. They're missing Kendricks at linebacker, who he's a great linebacker that can tackle a lot of that short yardage stuff. If he is missing again, that's another key loss. Like, I think Steelers money line is a good bet. I like him with the +3. I also think that Kirk Cousins is going to have a little bit trouble with this defense. And Justin Jefferson is very talented. And yes, in Showdown, you should probably play some Justin Jefferson. You should play some Kirk Cousins. But at some point, they're just losing too many players. I mean, we always forget about the defense. And that's one reason I liked the Lions a lot last week in DFS. I thought they'd be able to move the ball because of how bad that defensive line is right now with all the pieces missing defensively. It's just, I think they've lost too many pieces where it's just falling apart. I think you're going to see the Vikings just fall apart on Thursday night.
Wow. Not even Madison, even if Cook's back.
But running backs don't matter though. I mean, they don't, what is Dalvin Cook versus Madison like worth?
No, I'm saying if both of them are back, that's what
are they worth with them back? I would rather you have these defenders back than Cook, right? Because
I think Kendricks is back. Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what his status is going to be, but he did not play, and now it's a Thursday. It's a very short turnaround. So, and again, he didn't get hurt during that game. He just did not play the last one. That is going to be key for me. I already bet the Steelers at the +3.5. So I have that nice number. +3. It's obviously not as great because you like having that hook, but I want to know what the injury status is going to be of those defenders because I think that's very, very key. Do you know anything on that, Keg?
I'll say, who are you talking about? The Minnesota defenders?
Yeah, I mean, because they don't have anyone. Like, they're awful.
Listen, what I will say about this game is there's no way I could back Kirk Cousins in primetime. But saying that, the Pittsburgh Steelers defense have underachieved all year long. They have. I mean, they're 28th in defensive DVOA, Trav.
No, it's fair, but do you also believe in what Kirk Cousins can do at this point?
No, not on a primetime game. No, I don't.
I think he's fine. He's been a lot better this year, and I know we talked about not valuing position players as much, but if you lose Cook and you lose Thielen, it's just like the house is starting to collapse, man. It's just simple.
Yeah, but what I will say, and JJ and I were talking about this for about a half an hour on Sunday's live show, you can make an argument that Kirk Cousins has played good enough to be like top 5 in MVP talk this year.
I agree. He's been great. I 1,000% agree. But again, at some point when you lose all of these pieces, everything just starts to collapse on you, man. It's too much at this point. I think.
Well, here, this is what the latest report was last night. Patrick Peterson, Anthony Barr, Eric Hendricks, good to go. Full participants in practice. So that defense is going to get a boost, but I'm with you against Kirk Cousins. It's just, I've seen too much of this guy, too much of it. 1 o'clock or bust.
I will say I'm not a big like trends.
Me neither.
Like I'm not a big trends guy, but like there are some points where I'm just like, okay, like this isn't an anomaly anymore, and I feel like it's not an anomaly anymore.
Yeah, I agree. Like you feel like you don't want to be that narrative guy, but
right.
Like we're talking about like 5 years of like hard data now that says he shits the bed in prime time. He just does.
Yeah, I mean, I'll say this, Keg. I'm someone I like to be comfortable, right? Like if I'm not comfortable, I'm not at the same. And he might not just be comfortable in prime time. Maybe his routine gets thrown off, right? Some people, when their routine gets thrown off, it's just not as, they're just not feeling right. And maybe it's just that's how he is. It certainly is weird that it's the case. And at some point, you just kind of have to buy into it a little bit. And I'm with you. I think he's gotten a lot better this year. But I just think this Steelers team, I think they figured out their issues at the start of the year. And they're like, okay, like we need to change up what we're doing. And I think they have. And I think it's going to be beneficial going down the stretch. I'm not saying the Steelers are going to make a playoff push or something, but I think they're going to be more competitive than they have been. I think they've shown that too over the past couple of weeks.
Twatty, who is a diehard Pittsburgh Steelers fan, says there is no chance that the Vikings don't score 24 points in this game.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. I mean, this game would definitely be a shootout. And I want to mention Deontay Johnson. He's my captain. I think Jefferson is great. I think I'm going to have him in the flex, but I've been playing a lot of the underdog 4-2 stacks. And if I play the underdog 4-2, I got to play a Steeler, and it's been working out very well for me. I'll probably have Justin Jefferson in there at my flex, but Deontay Johnson will probably be my captain because it's, again, nothing against Justin Jefferson. I think he actually could get the 100-yard bonus too, but the PPR is so valuable on DraftKings compared to getting the 100-yard bonus, which obviously if you hit that, yes, you're stealing and it's great, but I would rather get peppered 10 plus targets. And his floor is insane. He's going to start with 10 plus targets, and he's also going to get red zone looks. And he has a chance, if he gets 10 targets, to break the 100-yard bonus. I just think it's a no-brainer to go Deontay Johnson at the captain. I think if you are playing one Viking in the captain, it's Jefferson. And if you're playing one Steeler in the captain, it's Deontay Johnson. I'm keeping it that simple this week.
Okay. I'll just say anytime Deontay was my premium show play last week, anytime he goes against the zone, you just fire him up. And we'll see what the Vikings present this week. All right, gentlemen, great show. Appreciate it. Mangone and Keg. Want to remind everybody, like button on the way out. If you haven't already, what up, Lottie? Good to see you're checking us out. Also, RPS Heater 25% off your first payment. Not just NFL. We got NBA. We got the full season. You get the Showdown package with that. You can add the bet side, get bets. Absolutely spectacular stuff. A lot of different sports that are going on. I know on the bet side, we got D doing the soccer as well. A lot of guys have been on fire this season. Simon, thank you very much for this. Do you guys have anything else you'd like to say before Simon gets us out of here? Anything? No.
I want to end the show for once. I want to say, Simon, get us out of here.